rage, stay in your lane, turn the page, but something woke up deep inside, a stronger voice, a wilder ride. I've paid my dues, I know my worth, I've fallen down, I've had rebirth. Now I'm standing in my truth, not chasing time, I'm choosing me. I've got wisdom in my bones, fire in my soul. This isn't the ending, this is the moment I take control. Life gets better after 40, clearer vision, brighter glow. I'm not fading, I'm ascending. This is the best I've ever known. Stronger, bolder, unapologetic. I'm just getting started, don't you see? 40's forward, this is my time. The future's finally looking like me.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of 40s Forward. I'm very excited because we're going to be speaking with Rebecca Nwankwo. She helps women and organizations shift mindset from a nice to have into a practical strategy for growth, leadership, and change. Her work sits at the intersection of personal reinvention and professional performance, grounded in the belief that how we think directly impacts how we lead, decide, and execute. This is so important. So after nearly 20 years in corporate real estate, Rebecca reached a familiar crossroad, I know this one, in her 40s. On paper, everything looked successful. In reality, something no longer fit. That moment became the catalyst for her reinvention. And at 44, she completed a Global Executive MBA at a top business school while working full-time and raising 2 daughters. That's a lot to do all at once. It was messy, challenging, and unrelenting, and it reinforced a truth she now teaches. Consistent imperfection action drives real change. That's one of my, one of my mentors said, done is better than perfect. So,
agreed.
Today, Rebecca is the founder of Mindset Queen. She is the host of Rise, Redefine, Reign, Summit, and the author of The Lies We Tell Ourselves. I can't wait to ask you about this because this book explores the internal narratives that quietly shape behavior in life and at work. And I just want to, let's get going and talk to you about what it is that you do, because I think, what you're doing is going to help so many people. So Rebecca, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a real pleasure to be here today.
And you know what? I think it's so true that something happens when we hit our 40s. And for some people, it's 40, some people it's 50s, but there's all of a sudden this oh my gosh, what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I doing? And it's just, they call it midlife crisis, but I think it's more than that. It's midlife, almost like reinvention. But how did that end up happening for you?
So when I hit 40, I remember just sitting down and suddenly having this thought. Clearly, it wasn't suddenly because there had been traces that I'd just been pushing back, but it just hit me that day. And it was is this really what you want to do for the rest of your life? Doing this exact same job. And it wasn't even for the rest of your life. It was, do you still want to do this in the next 2 years? And my answer was no. No, this is not what I want to do in the next 2 years, let alone for the rest of my life. So, but I did what many women did. I completely ignored it. I ignored it for at least over a year, and thought, it's just one of those things. It's going to go away. But obviously it didn't. In fact, it got louder. It got so loud, I couldn't just ignore it anymore. It was okay, I need to listen to this and I've got to deal with it. So I went on a quest to discover what this other thing I needed to do. I just knew I wasn't doing what I wanted, but I didn't know what I wanted was. So I went on a quest to discover what I wanted. And part of my quest took me down the road of doing a Global Executive MBA at ESA Business School. And I graduated in 2024. And that was one of the hardest things I'd ever done in my life. It was hands down very challenging. However, it was also equally the most rewarding thing I'd ever done, right? So in equal measures, it's an experience that I would never experience again. Like it's something I'll never experience again because it was a global MBA. The program took us to different countries. So I had it was 18 months, 9 modules. So every single module was in a different country. Singapore,
Wow.
New York, Barcelona, Munich. I went to Shanghai, Brazil. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And it was the same group of people. It was 38 of us in our cohort. We came from different parts of the world and we were in different fields. That's what made it such a beautiful, like a collaboration of different minds, brilliant minds. And my classmates were all like different, very, very high up in what they were doing. Some of them were CEOs, CFOs. There were lots of C something, right, in the class. There were also founders. So people that founded their own business, and I'm talking big businesses. One of them had a business that had 1,000 member of staff, and he had his own plane. And then we had we had a billionaire in the class. It was this Russian guy that was a co-founder of VK.com, which is the Facebook of Russia. So we had a huge, and then we had family office, people from family offices.
Oh.
We had like a Cito chocolate, which is the most popular chocolate in Spain. So the 5th generation, right, was in my class. So it was amazing. It was just a huge diversity. And we represented 38 people. We represented 27 countries. That's how diverse it was. Right. So now I can go to a different country and I can say, I can call somebody up because now I know people in so many different countries. But yeah, it was a fabulous experience. But like I said, it was also extremely challenging.
Yeah, especially if you're a mom too, and like having to try to balance all that all at the same time. And I think I hear a lot of women, that just reach a certain age and like, God bless you, because you are like probably one of the extremes, because not many people are like, well, I'm just going to go figure out what it is I want and make those changes. But that's really what people need. So, some people just are like, well, this is the best it's going to get. I mean, I see it even in health. I am taking patients. They just go, all right, well, I feel like crap, excuse the language, but, this is what it's like to get older, and they don't think like, wait, we can be changing things. So we can change our personal lives, we can change our health. So how would you encourage people to, try to figure out that there is more out there?
First of all, I think a lot of the reasons why we pause and many women don't end up going forward is most of the time is grounded in fear. It's fear of something, fear of the unknown, fear of what other people are going to think about you. So it's like people pleasing, fear of, oh my God, I don't know. This is not comfortable. Like our relationship with discomfort is very interesting. But here's the thing is if you want to achieve something different from what you've achieved to date, you have to think differently. You have to act differently because the same actions and the same thought process that got you where you are today is not what is going to get you to the other side of the bridge that you have been yearning for. So you have to be prepared to do the things that challenge you, the things that make you uncomfortable, right? And the things that make you sweat. You have to be willing to do those things because without doing those things, you are consistently going through the same loop and hoping for a different result, right? And we say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So in my case, I did something completely left field. And I'm not saying this is for everyone. I'm just saying for me, I knew inherently that I had to do something so different from what I'd been doing. I could have gone and gotten another job, which I looked at this, before I decided to do my MBA. I was like, maybe the issue is the job itself, like the company. I can get a better job, in the same field. And I went to look for that. And I remember I had this agent, executive agent that showed me this. Like, honestly, it couldn't be more perfect. Like this job role she showed me on paper if I had written it myself. It was like £50,000 more. It was a bigger team. It was a bigger company. And, I felt nothing when I saw that role. The me, maybe even 2 years before then, I would have felt like, I would have been like, where do I sign? Can we just get this interview sorted like quickly? But I didn't feel anything. That's how I knew that I needed something far deeper rather than surface level fix. It's like you've got to get to the root problem rather than putting band-aid, right? Let's heal the wound. Let's find out exactly what it is. So that's what you have to do. If you're stuck in this place of, oh my God, I need to do something different, do the thing that scares you. Do the thing that scares you.
I love that, because actually one of the examples that one of my mentors told me is exactly what you're saying is, and I've seen people do it, like they stay in their field and like you said, you don't necessarily have to change your field, but like they stay with what they're doing and they just think, well, if I just do what I'm doing and I do it harder and faster, that's going to get me where I need to go. But it's like, but you're doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to just get the same result harder and faster. And the big example I used from a personal standpoint is I started taking singing lessons, and I thought, how hard is it to sing? Like, you just sing. I just need to practice more. Maybe I'll get better. Well, that wasn't working for me. And I was really surprised at how difficult singing lessons are, because it's not just singing. It's like, how am I breathing? Where's my tongue going? How am I standing? And it's like, oh, wait, I never looked at the process, and I need to change the process to get it, to do it better, not just do what I was doing harder and faster. So.
Yeah.
What gave you the motivation to write your book?
So this is very interesting, because I sat through what I explained about the Global Executive MBA, and I was in the midst of these brilliant minds, right? These 37 other people that had a wealth of experience, thought very differently from the other people I'm used to being around, right? So these are very high achieving people. And I was fascinated. First of all, before I even go deeper into this, I've always been fascinated about mindset. I've consumed so many books on mindset because I believe that inherently everything starts with you and starts with your mind. Everything starts with your mind and starts with you. So I'm going to stop this call. So I was really fascinated about how these guys thought, and also what had helped me. So I'm going to put my phone on silent now. What had helped me overcome or get to the stage where I'd gotten to. And I was thinking to myself, if I'm able to put this in the book, this can help other people who feel stuck, especially those that feel like they don't have a growth mindset. They have a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So this book was intended to help people who feel stuck, to get unstuck, basically, where their mindset is concerned, and also to give people that foundation to say, look, you can actually achieve anything you put your mind to. And no, you don't have a fixed mindset. You absolutely can get a growth mindset, because the brain is wired to keep learning and keep adjusting and adapting, through neuroplasticity. So we have science actually backing up the fact that your mindset isn't fixed. All you need is better exposure to other things, right? Because once you expose yourself to other things, you basically give room for new thoughts to grow. So that's what we need to constantly do, with our brain, is give ourselves that exposure to different things. Go to networking events if you don't normally go to them. Go take a class, like in your case, singing class. It's like, do something different that gives you a different experience, because then that registers in your brain as, oh, wow, this is something different. Okay, this is interesting. And that's another thought pattern for you. So I would definitely say that was my thought process in terms of writing the book.
What do you see, if a woman is listening to this and she's like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm going through. What, other than they definitely need to get your book. So that's number one. But other than getting the book, what are some steps do you think people can start taking to make some changes in their mindset?
So the first thing, I was going to talk generally about what, because I actually have a framework for what women need to do to get themselves from where they are to where they really want to get to. And it's more than just mindset. So it's the PPI framework.
Okay.
So the first P is perfection. The second P is people pleasing. The I is imposter syndrome. So we've got to Stop trying to be perfect. Stop seeking perfection. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We need to stop people pleasing. Right. This is something that a lot of us have to unlearn because we've learned it particularly from our childhood.
Yeah.
Right. When you do something that is great, you get rewarded. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because that's how we raise our children. But then when you get to a certain age, you have to understand that you don't have to please everybody anymore. Right. Because sometimes the things that you need are misaligned. So if they're misaligned and you're pleasing that person, it means inherently that you are, not doing what you need to do to help yourself. So the second piece, stop people pleasing. And then the I is, yes, we need to quieten imposter syndrome. So those are the three things. And now then there are different ways to do these various things. Perfection is all you need to do to help yourself to stop trying to be a perfectionist is start taking small baby steps. Small baby steps each time compounding, and you make it consistent. It might be imperfect. You might even go in the wrong direction. But I promise you do this consistently, you will figure out which direction you need to go, first of all. And then as you continue going, you'll be surprised. You will surprise yourself when you look back, say 3 months from where you are, and you're like, wow, that's how far I've come already. It will surprise you, and that's going to give you confidence, right? Because your intention wasn't, I need to make sure it's perfect before I do it. You're like, I just want to take these small baby steps. 1% every day. Just 1% every day. That's actually called the Kaizen principle. And Toyota uses this principle. And unsurprisingly, so Toyota is a juggernaut, right? And unsurprisingly, they have been, for 5 consecutive years, number one in terms of their sales in the automobile industry. Of this Kaizen principle, 1% change, 1% improvement every single day, rather than going for the big, sexy, like, wow, here we are kind of improvement. So that's, in terms of perfection, that's what people need to start practicing. In terms of people pleasing, it comes back to what I said before. It's about unlearning some of the things that we have actually been taught. And it's understanding that you, as a human being, you are also a person. You are a person that also needs to fulfill their needs, right? As much as we want to make sure our children and everybody is fine, that's perfectly okay. You also need to make sure in the same, sentence or in the same breath that you are also okay. So what happens when you suppress your need to do something just because you need to, make somebody else happy, right? Compounding, a compound effect of this, like you do this continuously, which many women do, you eventually get to that stage in your life and you look back and you're thinking, oh my God, I actually haven't achieved any of the things I really wanted to achieve. That could actually lead to resentment. It could lead to resentment of, whoever it is that you have been sacrificing all these things for yourself for, right? And also it's very demotivating personally, and it actually does not help build your confidence, because what is going to help you build confidence is when you see, right, you say, okay, this is what I really want to do, and you're able to achieve that thing. Like you take the small compounding, actions, and you're able to achieve that thing. Then you're like, wow, I was able to do that. Oh, yeah, I can aim for the next rung now. I can aim a little bit higher next. And then you keep going because you're staying true to who you are. You're not shrinking yourself for somebody else. And then in terms of imposter syndrome, how do you quieten this? Because I actually don't believe that imposter syndrome ever goes away. I don't believe that. But I believe, just like fear never goes away. Because anytime you face something new, anytime you do something different that is unlike everything you've done before, right, fear is going to, because imposter syndrome is a form of fear, it's going to crop up and it's going to say, well, hang on a minute, this is not familiar grounds. Are you sure you want to do this? Is this really what you want to do? Let's go back to safety. But, as long as you understand that fear is not designed to help you thrive, it's designed as an inherent attribute that we had from when we were Neanderthals and we were hunter-gatherers. It's there to keep us safe. So it's there to say, well, are you going in the line of danger? So you taking on a new challenge that's going to help your growth is not danger, but fear translates it as danger because it's unfamiliar. So you have to break through that and tell yourself, I get that you're concerned. Yeah, thank you. But I've got this. This is something I actually want to do. So coming back to this, so now I said imposter syndrome is a form of fear. So that's what happens. Your brain starts fighting against you because it wants to bring you back to normality. So you have to be the one to say, okay, no, I must achieve that thing. It's something new. I'm going to go and do that public speaking, the first one, like I'm going to go on camera for the first time. I'm going to, write a post for the first, like you need to just, and the only way to get over this is by doing the thing in the first place. The other way to do it, right, and this is what helped me because I had imposter syndrome, like, when, especially the first few modules, when I did my Global Executive MBA, because like I said, my class is brilliant people of different, from different walks of life, etc. So one thing I realized, and one of the expectations from us in class was you had to raise your hands and you had to speak in every single class. It was actually part of, we were marked on class participation. So you can do a brilliant assignment, but if you did not participate in class, you will fail that module. So it was quite high up there in terms of, because they wanted to make sure that we knew how to engage, because communication is a key leadership skill, right? So I would feel nervous to raise my hands and contribute because I don't know, that doesn't really sound right, And then interestingly, I would hear somebody else make the same point that I was going to make. And one of the things that helped me was every time I doubted my contribution and I wouldn't speak up, honestly, it's like somebody else in the class would say something similar. Not exactly the same way that I had it in my head, but they would say something similar. And I'll be like, see, I could have said that, It wasn't such a silly idea in the first place. And then also the other thing I would advise people to do with imposter syndrome is talk to other people. You might go into a room and you think that somebody's so confident and they're like walking with their chest held high and everything. But when you speak to them, you might actually be surprised to find that they may feel imposter syndrome. 70% of human beings feel imposter syndrome at some point in their life. That's a lot of people. So when I got speaking to some of my other classmates and telling them how I kind of felt, I was surprised because some of them were like, oh yeah, I feel the same way too. And these were people that I thought had their stuff together. I was like, no way. So that made me feel, do you know what? You're not alone. This is very common. And if they feel the same way, it's perfectly fine. You can get over it. So actually speaking to people and finding some commonality in this really, really, really helps.
You know what I found out with the imposter syndrome? I had an incident the other day where I was at this dinner event and there were a lot of high functioning people there. And there was this one woman who got up and spoke. And I think what you portray and you put out is telling the world. So when we act from that area of fear and that imposter syndrome, we're telling the world we don't really know what we're doing, because instead of going, wait, I really do know what I'm doing. I know what I know what I do, and being confident in that. And the perfect example was this woman. She had a wellness center in New York City, and she was really apologetic because she had a imposter syndrome. And she was like, oh, I'm not, there's doctors and scientists in the room and I'm not a doctor and scientist. And I'm like, but you have this successful business and and I went up and I told her afterwards, I was like, you don't need to apologize. You're the only one that feels that imposter syndrome. Nobody else in the room knew that. You have a successful wellness business. You know what I'm like, probably better how to run a business than I do. I'm like, you need to be proud of that and put that out, because that's what you're going to get back.
Absolutely. You're so right, because half of the times it's in our own heads.
Yeah.
Other people in the room wouldn't feel it. In fact, other people were looking at me thinking, oh, she's so confident, And meanwhile, I had imposter syndrome at the time, but it's in our heads. Other people don't see us most of the times the way we see ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're often a lot harder on ourselves, especially women. We're not very kind to ourselves. So it's that whole, take a step back, take a deep breath, be kind to yourself. You've got this. The reason why you're in that room in the first place is because you are qualified, right? So own the room. You are qualified to be there like everybody else. You need to own the fact that you came there with your knowledge, with whatever, whether it's qualifications or your network, whatever the case is, you own that.
You know, I also see that sometimes with women more so than men, because we're just hard on our physical beings too. But like women will be like, oh, they'll put off things or they'll put off relations with their partners because they just don't feel good about their body. And they're like, oh, you know, or like even I did this with the bikini. I was like, I am not bikini material. I'm going to wait till I lose weight to wear a bikini. And I was like, you know what? One day I was like, because I tell my patients all the time, like, confidence is sexy. Like, you don't have to wait till you have that. Like you said before, perfect. You don't have to wait till you have the perfect body to, like, do things or wear things. Just wear it. Just go out there. Because you could have somebody that walks into a room and maybe, quote, has the perfect body, which there is none, but, you know, but is not confident. And you could have somebody who you might say, like, okay, that person looks maybe a little bit more overweight, but they walk in confident. That's going to portray itself completely different. So, yeah.
Very true. It's like, have you met those people? They just don't seem to care what other people think. They own their stuff. They like, you know, dress how they want, present themselves how they want. They're like, that's your problem if you don't like it, you know?
Yeah.
I like me, so that's your problem. Like, somehow those people tend to be magnetic. Like, you're just drawn to them, aren't you? Because they own their stuff. You know, they're like, I don't care what other people think. And the mistake we often make is that we think that confidence comes first. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. You need to take the action first, and then by doing the action, you start building your confidence. Confidence, if you're waiting for confidence to come first, you're going to wait a long time. Just like you said, if you're waiting to have the perfect body and everything, forget it, right? It's going to be years. So you need to take the action. And like I said, baby steps. Each time you take that step, each one of them compounds and each one of them helps you increase your confidence bit by bit. And you will eventually look back and you would not even recognize yourself anymore because you're like, wow, I've come so far, right? So, but you have to understand that you take the action first, and then by taking the action consistently, you start building confidence.
Is that also a way to get rid of the fear too? Because what I'm thinking is, from a scientific standpoint, like the fear is actually it's something that we all have innate in us because in the past it kept us alive. So if we don't do something new, then we're safe, you know? So that's why a lot of times our brains put up those blocks, because it's like if I do something new, I might die. When like half the time, like in reality, we're not going to die, but our brain thinks like from a survival standpoint that we're going to die. So yeah. So how do you advise people to become over just get over the fear?
So one of the other things, I should have mentioned this when we spoke about imposter syndrome, because as I said, imposter syndrome is a form of fear. One of the exercises I would encourage the listeners, the watchers to do is to name their fear. Actually give it a name. So mine is called Letitia.
Oh, like actual name, like a name, like Herman.
Actual name. Like, that's what I mean. Actually give it a name. And it doesn't matter what the name is, like it's whatever you feel comfortable with, right? Letitia is loud. She is loud. I have to tell her a couple of times to like shut up and just be quiet in the corner so I can get on with what I need to do. But it's interesting when you name it, it's kind of like you bring it out, and it's no longer this thing that is hiding in the shadows, and it's just like trying to stop you. When you give it a name, you're like, Letitia, can you be quiet? I know you're concerned, but I've got this, okay? Right, thank you very much. And then you get on with what you need to do. Try this exercise because it stops making fear this ominous thing, right? It gives it a personality. It like brings it out so you can see it, almost like see it like in your mind's eye, and you can talk to it. It's like, because it comes up, like you said, because it thinks that you're in danger.
Yeah.
You know you're not in danger, right? Your front brain knows you're not in danger. You're just doing something very different, very challenging. So you've got to call it out and say, thank you very much for your concern, but shut up.
I like that because it
direction.
separates that from ourselves. Because sometimes when otherwise it feels like it's like taking over. But if I can make it a separate person, it's easier to deal with.
Yes.
I love that.
You got it.
That is amazing. What other tips would you have, or things that I haven't asked you about that you think is really important for us to know?
One of the things that I would encourage, funny, so I did I also host summits. It's called the R3 Summit or the Rise, Redefine, Reign Summit. And I do it every month. And we change the topic every month to basically address all the things that women care about and all the things she needs to make her whole. So the topic yesterday was strong relationships, real impact. And I got to say, it was very moving, like it was really phenomenal. One of the things I said in that summit yesterday, because we're talking about relationships shape absolutely everything that we do, shapes our success, even our failure. And a matter of fact, the ability to actually get on with other people and to socialize with other people is social intelligence. And did you know that social intelligence is one of the most highly paid form of intelligence?
Wow.
Right? I wonder why. It's the most highly paid form of intelligence. But also 85% of your success is going to depend on your social skills, your social intelligence. That's a high number. So it's really important for women to understand that the way that we communicate is everything. The way that we engage with others is everything. We need to build intentional relationships to help us thrive. But it's not just like when you go to a networking event, you meet someone, and you have this nice feeling about them or not in some cases. And then after that, nothing. Nothing else happens from there. So you have to be very intentional of building your social skills, your social intelligence. It doesn't happen on its own. You've got to learn how to follow up with people. And you've got to take, as one of the speakers said so beautifully yesterday, she said, you have to learn to take risks with meeting people. With your relationships. And I said, that is so interesting because we always think about risks in terms of our business, like taking risks to like create a business, run a business, but we don't tend to think about taking risks in terms of a relationship. Yeah, that person might blank you, they might ghost you, but you know what? Have you tried? You try to ghost you, they blank you. There's lots and lots of other people on the planet. Please move on. Without being brave enough to try, you're potentially missing out on some key relationships that can help you build your success. So in coming back to your question, one of the things I will encourage women to do is absolutely build your social intelligence. Absolutely. But you must be intentional about it. It doesn't happen just because you want it. It doesn't happen just because you met that person once, right, at an event somewhere. It's going to happen by you doing the follow-ups, right? By staying in touch, right? We all have that person in our life that only calls us when they need something. Right? Most of us have that one person. Like when you see their phone call, you're like, oh, what do they want now? That's because the reason why we feel that way is because that person doesn't check in on us. That person is the person that they only remember you when, oh, yes, I need to get that thing done. They never call in to say, how are the kids doing? How are you doing? Are you okay? Let's not be that person to other people.
I think that's a really good one because I think, unfortunately, too, that happens way too much, especially with the way social media is. Like people think like, oh, well, I'm seeing that person online, I'm following them. And I've found that even phone calls have dropped significantly since social media has risen, and we lose that connection because of that. So
yeah, we need the human touch.
Yeah.
And this is even more critical for the next generation, like my kids. I worry for that generation because it's all on the phone. It's all on social media now. That's what is keeping their attention. The human touch, the human element, the human interaction significantly decreased, with this generation. So interesting to see how, where we're headed with this generation. So we need to encourage encourage human interaction as much as we can, especially with our kids.
No, I agree with you. Oh my goodness. All right. Once again, wrapping up, is there anything else you want to tell us? And then where can people find you?
Last thing I'm going to tell you, again, coming back to relationships, is this. You have to be prepared. So when you have this goal, this dream, this thing that you want to achieve, and you go tell, I don't know, your partner, your sister, your brother, your mom, whoever, and they're like, oh, really? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Yeah. You get this lackluster, response when you're like so excited. You're like, oh my God, this is really what I want to do. And they meet you like, meh, right? They don't even meet you halfway. And you feel depleted. You're like, okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't such a good idea. I'm just going to shelve it. That happens a lot to many of us, right?
Yes.
So
been there.
What I want to say is, if you decide that you want to do something, and this is like, you've done the research, you know that this is what you need as a human being to get you from where you are to the next thing, right? You have to be prepared to protect your dream. You have to be prepared to fight for it too. And the reason why I say this, I'm going to wrap it up with a story. The Global Executive MBA nearly broke my marriage. And I mean, literally nearly broke my marriage, because you think about the fact that not only was it a challenging program, 18 months, right, of my life, it involved traveling, and 2 weeks at a time as well. It's like 2 weeks interval. You travel, you come back. I've got 2 kids. I've got a full-time job. And when I come back, it wasn't like, okay, like you don't have to do anything else. No. When I come back, you've got to do assignments, coursework, teamwork, and maybe exams, right? So like, it was all consuming. It's like literally all consuming. So my other half just couldn't understand why I wanted to do this in a different country. It's like, why are you going to Spain? Like, what? I was like, but this is like the top 10 MBA schools. Like, if I'm going to do this now, I want to do it properly. Like, I don't just want to go to any old school. So we argued about this like all the time. Even the times that, even after I started, even he agreed eventually. He's like, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can cope. I've got my sister-in-law is living with us, and my mother-in-law. So in terms of childcare, like, to be honest, so I'm like, we've got that covered. Like, what else is the issue? Like, that was one of the biggest things that was on his list. But this caused arguments. Even when I went away for the 2 weeks to different countries, sometimes he will call me, and then it'll be a whole different thing. But I had to say to him, this thing is what I really, really want to do. This is the thing that I believe is going to take me from here to there, and also is going to help the family. Don't make me have to choose between doing this thing and you. Don't put me in that position. Because if you do, you might not like the outcome. That's one thing. But let's even assume that I chose you. That's only going to lead to resentment in the future.
Yes.
What kind of relationship are you going to have? Like, if I'm resenting you because you didn't allow me to do this thing that was my dream. And the one thing I do not want is to live in regret. I do not want to be on my deathbed saying, oh my God, I wish I did that thing, when I was 40 years old or whatever. I don't want to live in regret. So just let me do this thing now. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and it was like, and guess who was like, when I was graduating, the person that was at the front, like, oh yes, Rebecca, with all his friends, it was him. And then he got it. But during the process, he just didn't understand this. So I had to fight for my dream. I had to put my foot down and say, I'm going to do this thing. I need to do this. I need to do this thing. It'd be great to have your support while I do it. But if not, I'm still going to do it. Right? Because this is what would keep us thriving. So that's what I want to leave with the listeners. I want them to understand that when you have that dream, that North Star goal, sometimes the people closest to you might not get it. And that's okay. They don't have to get it. What matters is that you understand your vision. You believe in yourself. That's the most important thing. Self-belief. I can do that thing. That's what I need. Because once you have that, you don't need validation and approval from other people for them to make what you want to do value. No, the value is still there. You don't need their validation to do it.
I think that's such an important message. And I think even too, like before when you were saying, like sometimes we get stuck into this, like doing the things the old way. And so the people around us might just be used to seeing us in that old role or and so now we're changing and they're like, might not support because they don't understand and people don't like change. So they're like, I'm used to the old you. Now that there's like, you're doing something different. So sometimes it just they need a minute to kind of catch up. But I think that's, but don't let it hold you back. That's the beautiful message. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. And that minute that they need could turn into years. You don't want to get stuck there because you're trying to give them time to catch up. No, you're growing. You should embrace your growth. When they're ready, they can catch up, but that should not stop you from developing yourself and from growing. And guess what? If they really love you later on, they might get it, but they might not understand during the time when you're going through that phase. But when they start seeing success, they're like, that's my wife, that's my sister, that's my daughter, But you have to be so strong in your own self and within your belief that you're going to keep going no matter what. Again, it comes back to people pleasing, right? It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you think of yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much, Rebecca. That has been so enlightening. Where can people find out more information? Where can they follow you?
Oh, the best place, my biggest social media home is LinkedIn. So if you type in Rebecca Nwankwo MBA, they should be able to find it. And I'm also on Facebook. So if you type Rebecca Nwankwo, you should be able to find me. But LinkedIn is definitely my biggest home.
And we have the link to your book so they can get that. They can find that on Amazon. I'm sure other places that sell books.
Absolutely. It's on Amazon. Exactly.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the time you've taken to talk with us. Everybody make sure you go follow her, support her, go check out the book. Definitely. I can't wait to go get that because I'm like, I have definitely been in those places too. So I'm going to get some help from that. I appreciate it.
Brilliant.
So
thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. And we will have to get you back another time because I think all the stuff that you're talking about is wonderful. So make sure everybody go follow her and stick around, come back for another episode of 40s Forward.
Thank you so much. It's been an exciting evening spending with you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Life gets better after 40, clearer vision, brighter glow. I'm not fading, I'm ascending. This is the best I've ever known. Stronger, bolder, unapologetic. I'm just getting started, don't you see? 40s forward, this is my time. The future's finally looking like me. We got wisdom, we got fire, we got nothing left to prove. This is power, this is freedom, this is living fully you. Life gets better after 40, this is where I rise and shine.